Welcome to another good story. And I'm sitting here with a really good person named Jan Fisher. But not only is she a good person, she is a good leader, a good difference maker. She is a good boss. She is a good communicator and mom. I just get that from you, the way you talk about stuff, you know. You're a really good example. That was a new one. Yeah, I like that one too. Yeah. I just got goosebumps. You're a really good agent of social change. And you're a really good dresser.
Thanks. I'll
But
take that last one.
most importantly and overall, you're just a really good person, and that's why you're here. So welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You are, I didn't know, to be honest, when I asked people, because the only prerequisite of coming on this podcast is just that I know you well, and and like what I said, I consider you a good person. And then just to ask someone like you, I was a little worried that you would say no, or just be like, I'm too busy. But this is why you're such a good person, because you make time all the time for people, you know, and I think that's why you're at the helm of what you do too.
I remember our first conversation.
Really?
I do. And I mean, our first real conversation. And you were explaining to me why you do what you do, and that it's not just about filmmaking and producing video. It's really about communicating what's good and what's important. And you probably said it a lot more passionately
But
and
I like that.
eloquently,
That sounds good.
but it really stuck with me that when you interact with the nonprofit sector, as that's where I'm from and that's what I do, you do really want to work with people that understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And for me, that's how I felt when I met you and how you explained what you do and what drives you.
And it's so real. And I hope you have seen how real whatever I said
Yeah.
is, because I really do mean it. You know, it's like, I get like worked up, but that's how I know that I'm not even making it up. You know what I mean? Like I'll sit in an interview sometimes and I'll cry with the person.
Yeah.
It's some of the stuff that we work on, and I say we because I've in a lot of ways you and I work together because we're after the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Even though we do something different. But that's why I called you a difference maker, because you know I saw the emails and stuff and followed you when you were going up to Albany, and you know really like, I don't know what you call it. It's not pounding the pavement. Lobbying, I guess, right? Is it lobbying?
It's advocacy,
Yeah.
communication, community education, lobbying. I mean, lobbying is about getting legislation passed. That's the goal. But what comes before that is really understanding the issues and the history of why people and populations need support. For us, that's what we fight for legislation to advance justice, to advance good. You know, their goals, economic goals. We certainly want to advance economic goals, but with a little bit different of a twist. There's always an element of justice and correcting the systems and the policies that have brought people to a point where they need change and they need support. And that's what we do.
Can you imagine Westchester without any nonprofits at all? What
I,
would that world look like? Or
well,
what would the county look like?
I can't really imagine any community without nonprofits because every community, whether you are the wealthiest or the lowest income, has nonprofits. You have hospitals, you have libraries, you have community centers, you have all sorts of things that the average person doesn't even realize. Every day in every neighborhood, every place, nonprofits are operating and supporting people of all income levels to live and thrive. Museums, parks. There are so many.
Even you make me realize this. That is not even like, you break my perceptions a little bit because, yeah, the hospitals, like a lot of
Mm.
hospitals are nonprofits, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So, healthcare, mental health, we know we're in a public health crisis with mental health, with suicide. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in people ages 14 to 21.
That is so wild.
And it crosses socioeconomic boundaries. So, whether you're in Westchester and living in Scarsdale or living in Mount Vernon, that is data that is impacting every family. And that is a situation that nonprofits are addressing. And that is why nonprofits, should be understood for what they are. We are the organizations and the entities that help all people and support communities to thrive. It's not just for low income people, it's for people that need support. And it's for people that want to do better and be better and address the issues that are impacting them.
I think that's the stuff that always get when you say figures like that. That's what always gets me. I remember just it was the first project. It was the genesis of Good For You Productions, my documentary about the girl that died of an eating disorder. And when we started going to NIH and interviewing, directors there about it, I mean, they said something similar to you. Is like this is not like a rich, Northeast white girl problem, so to speak. This was kind of going through the gamut of people, and it was just susceptible young people who were kind of lost, depressed,
Yeah,
going through something and went to that for an answer. So it didn't matter if you were poor, rich, black, white. It just didn't matter.
exactly. And in addition to just addressing the issue, let's go deeper. We look for root causes. So you have an eating disorder and you're treated medically or with support and therapy. But let's go back even further. What are we teaching our kids? What are we teaching our children matters? How you look, if you're thin, if you're whatever it is. So when we go back and examine after school programs, camps, things that our children are involved with, how do we examine those and make changes to how we work with our kids?
Hmm.
And so we just don't take the situation at hand. We dig deep and we analyze how we're going to change it from a multi system perspective. How so many things that touch our children can change. For example, with that one issue, what do we do in our libraries? What do we do in our after school programs? What do we do in our schools? What kinds of posters do we have hanging in our community centers? Do they represent everyone? Is everyone in that poster thin and beautiful according to society standards? What are we reflecting in our neighborhoods and our communities, and how can we do better by all people?
How do you personally keep track of all of these things? Because when you said, the nonprofit sector is what I do. So this is like why I love this show because I wasn't here to like bring you on as the executive director of NPW, but it's clearly what you are, right? But there's a lot of nonprofits in Westchester. I don't understand how you even, like, obviously you have a team and they're supportive and they're great. I know them all. Um, but over 50,000 employees of nonprofits, not saying all of them are NPW necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a lot of people to almost, you're like the mom, right? You're like the mama bear of everybody in a way. Like I know a lot of people go to you. How do you keep track of your members, what's going on in the country, in the state?
I'm really lucky. I have an army behind me. We can't do this alone. So I have an amazing board of directors. I have amazing members who keep me up to date, who remind me about the issues I need to know about. When you're passionate about it, you make a point to stay on top of the issues, to know the data, to read. But you can't remember everything clearly. So you use the army that's behind you, my board. We're part of statewide and national coalitions. And so I don't have to remember everything deeply, but I have to know how to get access to it and what's important at this point in time.
It just sounds like it's such a part of your life. So it's almost like natural to stay abreast on everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
That's
mentioned the coalition. I saw you in something with Jenkins, right? Am I making that up? No, not Jenkins. No, with
Latimer.
yeah.
Yeah, no, really exciting to work with Congressman Latimer. He has 7 task forces to address various parts of our society, our economy, and these task forces are meant to advise him and his team as to how to move forward with policy, with legislation, and with funding. And I am chairing the Social Services Task Force. And it's going to be really interesting because there are, a lot of issues going on at the federal level: cuts in Medicaid, cuts in SNAP, cuts to arts and culture, I mean, which is not part of our task force, but a lot of intersecting issues that impact people's health and well being. And that's what our task force is about. And it's a great honor that he had the trust in me to be able to coordinate this committee.
Yeah, how cool is that? That you got tapped on the shoulder. I mean, with some other people, I think the other one I knew, just off the top of my head, Tom Gabriel was on there too, right?
Yes, yes.
I don't remember everybody, but I remember you and him.
So from Westchester, it's Tom, it's Judith Watson from the Westchester Community Health Center, Anna Haita Kotval from Lifting Up Westchester, which is a housing organization. Housing addresses homelessness and unhoused people. And Judy Troilo, who is a leader in the area of LGBTQ, and 2 colleagues from the Bronx who are very involved in neighborhood improvement in the Bronx as well, which is part of the congressman's district as well.
Do you feel like you could say no to that? Were you excited to say yes? Is that pressure?
I was really excited to say yes to that. Did not feel any pressure at all. Just, sometimes get concerned that I could do the job well.
Right.
And that's again when I realize it's not just my job, it's the whole committee, it's collaboration. And so I'm the chair, but I'm really just coordinating. There are, brilliant minds at my side, and his team is great, and we'll get it done.
I love when people ask me this, but I'm going to ask you this. It's like such a simple question, but why do you care so much? Is there a reason? Like, I don't know. Like, I can tell you actually care, Jan. I mean, like it's real.
Thanks. I'm not sure. I think from the time I was very young, it was just like who I was. I grew up in the 60s and 70s and in Brooklyn, and it was a very divided community back then, racially, economically, and so much just seemed incorrect to me, not right. And I grew up, interestingly, not interesting that I grew up Jewish, but from a Jewish family, and I didn't look Jewish. I had blonde hair, blue eyes, and I remember being at a friend's house and the parents not knowing that I was Jewish and saying some really, really racist, anti-Semitic things. And I think growing up during that time really impacted me, and feeling that there was so much strife and hatred. And I felt really uncomfortable, obviously, in my friend's house during that time, and faked a stomach ache and went home. But
Smart.
there were things that, and that's when you could just like walk home on your own.
No, but I need to do that at parties that I don't want to be at. I just need
Yeah.
to get a stomach ache.
Yeah,
That's really
get
genius
a
of you to
stomach
get,
ache, right.
to get
Oh
it out
my
of there.
And I remember that incident so well because I felt so uncomfortable. And I just remember that time really understanding that not everybody was treated fairly, but most significantly, I saw it in school with people who were Hispanic and Black just not being treated as well as the white students, and it really struck me. And I think that was my entree into I need to do something about this.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that you're from Brooklyn. I wouldn't have thought that as well.
Yeah. My
You
kids
don't sound Brooklyn.
my kids tell me when I get like tired or upset, I lose the R's in all my words. So then I sound really Brooklyn, tired or upset.
My both my parents are from Yonkers, and you can't really hear their accent too much. They've worked on it. You know, it was
Mm-hmm.
because they went into corporate. Kind of both of them. My dad ran a business. My mom went into corporate at Pepsi. But they worked really hard on that. But every once in a while, like when my mom says soda instead of soda, like that's when you're like, where is that from?
Yeah,
Where are you?
yeah, we all have it. We definitely all have our, our accents from our past that come out during various times. I don't think I worked really hard to get rid of it. I just think being in Westchester for 30 years, it just sort of disappeared a little bit.
Before we were talking about kind of, well, sort of generalized and said there's a lot of stuff that we need to know about. I'm going to ask you a question that I think a reporter asked Obama years ago, which
Oh
was,
boy.
no, it's simple, but it's fun to ask it this way. The reporter used to ask Obama, like, what keeps you up at night? And I think his answer was North Korea and the nukes, right? Because that was like the biggest problem at the time. For you, it's more of like what's top of mind always. Like, what do you worry about for the population that you serve?
Right now, what's keeping me up at night, honestly, is what is going on at the federal level. And really, really being concerned that we haven't felt the impact of these cuts and the attitude toward people that, again, need our support to address personal and systemic issues that have brought them to a point where they come to the nonprofit sector, they come to government to address their issues. And there's just so much.
Please don't tell me you watch the news.
I
That would definitely
don't.
keep you
I
up.
do
Oh my
not watch the
God,
news,
Jen.
but I read a lot. And to cast these people aside, to cut services without research, without information, just really scares me how people are going to remain housed, how they're going to remain fed, educated. And I think we are headed, not in a great direction if we allow this to happen. And so that really, really does keep me up at night or wakes me up
Mm.
at night. And I think we really need to do something about it. We really need to advocate, lobby, and right now it seems to be the nonprofit sector that is most concerned and addressing the issues because the stock market is up, the business community hasn't felt it.
Yeah.
And so, very much, we feel very much like we're in a situation historically like COVID, except we are not all rowing in the same direction because we're not all being impacted the same way as everybody was impacted by COVID. Every sector was suffering. Right now, I personally am not suffering. I'm fine. But what keeps me up at night is knowing that there are people who are really, really going to suffer.
Well, I'm sure you get not the calls, but the calls about the calls. You know,
Yeah.
like there's got to be, the proverbial fires that you're putting out, so to speak,
Yeah. I mean, it's
or just
the,
people worried because that's all I heard last year from September until December. So
yes.
many nonprofits were like, "We're in trouble," and it didn't sound like it happened yet, but even just having that mindset,
Yeah. I
that
mean,
that's scary.
we're seeing cuts. We have strong partnerships with government and, on the county and the state level. But our agencies are seeing cuts and the impact is going to be felt. And at the same time, we have incredible organizations who are there, they're shovel ready, they're ready to address the issues. But as a sector, we cannot keep doing more with less. We used to wear that as a badge of honor, but it's not a badge of honor. We need
It's
to
not sustainable,
no,
to
we
be
need to
honest.
do
Yeah.
more with more. And
Yeah.
it's that simple. And we need that investment and that commitment from our funders to be able to address the issues at hand.
Well, I am going to balance out that question because I also want to know what are you excited about? I mean, there's nonprofits doing really good work too, right? So what are we
Absolutely.
excited about?
I am always excited to interact with the brilliance of the sector. You know, as an organization, we have different affinity groups, we have CEO affinity groups, CFO affinity groups. I'm in a room with some of the biggest, boldest, most brilliant thinkers. And I know that there are solutions to the issues that we're experiencing now. I know that in partnership with government and the business sector and people that really care about their community, because that is what's so beautiful about Westchester. We really have sectors that are committed to working together, that want to work together. As much as I said, the business community isn't yet feeling the impact, they're not, but we're really fortunate here to have a community of people that work together, that understand issues together and come together. So I am excited about what we will be able to accomplish during these very troubling times. And once we're past this, we will get past it. What we're going to learn from this experience and how we're going to do better. And it's really a time where we can educate the community about what's really happening. And we're really lucky to have, again, government and business and nonprofit partners who want to do better, who want to improve their communities. It's really a time to focus local. And I think that's where we can make change. That's where we can address the biggest issues. And when this is over, I think we will be better, we will be stronger. And I'm going to stay positive because we'll be better and stronger, but there'll be a lot of people and communities at the end of this that will have been very traumatized.
I like that you can take it as a learning lesson. I think everybody can. One of the things I was saying in nonprofits was because you try to be hopeful a little bit. We
Sure.
can't all just worry about it and get stuck in that. But any nonprofit that was worried, I would almost look at them because I'm in these meetings and we talk about
Hmm.
stuff, and I would say, every superhero needs a villain. So you got your villain. Like it's time for you. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to see what you can change and how you can adapt and how you can overcome. Be a good example. But at the end of it, I think what you're saying is maybe we'll improve something.
I think,
Maybe you won't be susceptible to the next federal thing.
yeah, I think we will improve systems. And again, for me, I'm so motivated and inspired by the nonprofit leaders in our community, the ones that are serving the immigrant community, are so strong and so brilliant, and they're problem solvers. You know, housing, homelessness, hunger,
Big issues. Yeah.
huge issues. The arts and culture. I mean, our freedom of speech and expression is being threatened too. We have such vibrant, amazing leaders, and it's such an honor to be able to represent them and to just learn from them. So I do stay positive and I stay inspired every day because there are those people out there that it's my really, really my honor to work with them and to learn from them.
During this conversation, I'm also realizing you're very sophisticated. I just feel like you say like words that I'm just not used to saying. Not that they're big, but you just define them differently. What is your background? Where'd you go to college? What is this from college? Or are you just born this way? It's not Brooklyn.
Oh, I was totally born brilliant. so I
That should
grew
be the name of your book, Born Brilliant.
So I really think it was my Brooklyn upbringing. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn during a time where it wasn't cool to grow up in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's
That's
very
an
cool.
interesting point. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brooklyn is very cool now, but I mean, Brooklyn was gritty and just different. And I really think that I got most of my stuff that I'm using today from my Brooklyn background. My upbringing, I grew up very independently. I was independent. We walked to school. We walked back from school. We took at 12, we were taking the train into the city. There were just so
Can you
many.
imagine doing
Yeah,
that to a
yeah,
12-year-old now? Because they
yeah.
don't do that, or does that still happen?
I don't
We would
think
never
so.
think about that with our
No.
kids.
You know, you went home, you threw your bag down, you went outside, and you played without a cell phone until you were dirty and scraped up and came back in to eat. It was just a very free and liberating time. But it was also a time of tremendous strife. It was Vietnam. It was a lot of racial tension. So I just think the combination of it all, I was like a sponge observing all of that. And I think that sort of the way I was just brought me to where I am today. So I went to NYU. I grew up in Brooklyn. I went to Fordham for graduate school. I'm
Yeah,
really a
see,
New Yorker.
this is making sense a little bit now.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
get a little bit of everything.
yeah.
So and then how do you end up as in charge of NPW? Like, where were you before that? I don't even know.
So I consulted for a very small amount of time for nonprofits, but before that, I was at a large nonprofit mental health organization for 14 years. I started out as a grant writer, and I ended up as their director of public affairs. And it was the perfect agency for me. I learned so much from them. And I also was able to address an issue, mental health, that was really important to me. I grew up in a house with a very, very strong mother who suffered terribly from depression and really serious mental health issues during a time where there was so much stigma, not a lot of services, and she was able to fight and to overcome that. So to
Mm,
be in a mental health organization and to promote,
wow.
the best mental health services possible, which this organization did, was really important to me. And I really, really cut my teeth at this organization, which is Westchester Jewish Community Services. And I really credit that experience to becoming the professional I did. But then I
Sorry, I
felt
had my artist.
that's
Speaking of
okay.
artists, there's an artist cutting up. That if anybody hears that in the background, that's what that is.
But then, I went, I felt like I needed to experience another type of organization. So I went out as a consultant and I decided I was only going to work with women CEOs. And for a couple of years, I worked with women, women of color. It was amazing. And then I got the call from my colleagues that the position at Nonprofit Westchester opened. And would I serve as interim? And
And how long ago was that?
6 years ago.
It's only 6 years for
It's
you.
only
You've done
six
so
years.
much.
It feels great. And I have to say, I have learned so much from my board of directors and my board presidents who really they care so much about not only their organizations but the sector. To serve on a board when your organization doesn't get paid for it, when it's pretty much you're just adding to your job responsibility without getting anything back except knowing that you're doing good for the nonprofit sector has been amazing, and I've learned a lot. You can always learn, keep
Yeah.
learning. So this has been an amazing experience for me.
And you started with COVID.
Started with COVID. Yeah, it was really interesting because it was, we were 7 years old at the time as an organization, and we definitely had some growing pains. And, in many ways, it was make or break for the organization. And unfortunately and unfortunately, COVID really put us on the map because we needed to be there for the nonprofit sector. Nobody was representing the nonprofit
It's true.
sector except the nonprofit sector.
Yeah.
And what was great is I walked into an organization that, due to the last executive director, had a tremendously strong infrastructure. And I was able to do what I do best in terms of networking and advocacy and strengthening what she had done previously to bring the organization where it needed to be.
It's like how many members are in NPW?
We're close to 400 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because when we went to the Wendy and I went to the event in December. I call it an event, but it's you call it a meeting.
It's our Keep Westchester Thriving award ceremony and annual meeting.
So okay, yeah, it's cool. But there's so many people there, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it it
Yeah.
sounds like you're going to a meeting, but it's I don't want to call it a party because I don't want to downplay how
It is a
serious.
party.
Okay, it's
It's
a
a
party.
party. It's a celebration.
Yeah.
We do such serious work. The people in the nonprofit sector really, they do the hardest work. They
You have to
see
celebrate people when they're in the
right,
trenches. Yeah.
exactly. And they deserve to be celebrated, and we deserve a celebration. So it's totally a party. It's the nonprofit party of the year.
It is really hard because, like, what you said, even about the, whether it's housing and food, like, that's a big deal. But, like, some of the stuff that when I say, like, it's heavy, like, domestic abuse, like, there's
Yeah.
a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
so, the phone calls that they hear every day,
Yeah.
like, they got to have somebody patting them on the back or else what,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. I mean, the the nonprofit sector professionals, employees, they're they are society superheroes. They are bringing everything to the table every day to help people. That's what they want to do.
I want to ask you about this. It's two things. It's about money. I know that when we talked about lobbying before, I know that something you were behind just to allow nonprofits to get paid faster. Am I
Mm-hmm.
saying that?
That's correct.
Is there anything we can do to allow people that work for nonprofits to get paid more? Because what we're talking about, it's a lot of times they work in something hard. They're probably not getting paid great. They're probably getting paid good or average.
Mm.
Not yeah. So you would
Yeah.
know more than me, right? But I'm just assuming like entry level stuff is probably tough, and then maybe there's a couple of positions that people can find that are good. But is there a way to elevate all of people's pay?
Well, we just to put this into
And sorry to put
perspective.
that on
No,
you. I
no,
don't.
no, that's okay. I love to talk about this. I hope one day I never have to talk about it again. But 20% of the nonprofit workforce nationwide is living at the federal poverty level. They are making decisions whether to pay their rent, to go to the food pantry, things that people who are working in the nonprofit sector should, nobody should, who is working should have to suffer that type of indignity. So people that are working in our sector are experiencing the same indignities as the people they're serving.
Amazing. Not like
And
not in a good way. Like
not
that's
in a good
terrible.
way.
Yeah.
And many, a very high percentage, are working more than one job. We have to do something about nonprofit wages. And there's a lobbying day in Albany on March 9th with a partner organization that is fighting to increase nonprofit wages. And it would be great if the average citizen came with us to Albany. That's, that's what we want. We
That really
want
makes a difference going up there.
huge.
I've never done it. I'm so ignorant to that. Like I
Well,
just
you'll come with us. Thank you.
let's do it.
Okay.
I'll do it
Yeah.
because I need to know about it. Also, I
And
just need to know the process.
I mean, there's so much to learn, there's so much to do, and we need the
I'm
other,
gonna have to like document it in my own way
yeah,
too. I'm gonna have to film
please
it or
do.
something. I don't know how, but
And we need the other sectors behind us. We need the good business people. I mean, I'm sure most business people are good business people, but we need other people to care about this, to care that working people are suffering. And the nonprofit workforce that's suffering most are 80% women and 60% people of color. And there are historic and systemic reasons as to why this is happening, but it's too complicated to get into here. But I'm happy to,
but
you
even
know,
if it's true, we can leave it as it's happening. Because if you look at
right.
data now and you're saying it's happening, I can
True.
accept that now.
Great point.
You
Great
know?
point. Yeah. And we have to change that. We have to care enough as a society to care about the people that are caring for our parents in nursing homes, our family members in group homes for people with disabilities.
And I'll tell you, just to be honest, I'm always transparent. I can't even when I'm like, nah, don't say that. I'm like, all right, say it. It is a harder pill for me to swallow, and I'll tell you why. My mother went to college, 30 plus years at Pepsi, great living. My Aunt Marianne, college, IBM, 30 great years. My aunt Liz, these are all sisters too, college, doctor. So, and all three of them, I'm just trying to think if I'm being accurate, all three of them did better than their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
So my role models in a lot of ways are the women. And so when you say they're making less, I'm like, Damn, that sucks. I don't know why, because I have three examples in my family that did really well. So I'm not pushing back against
Sure.
you.
No,
I have a
no.
different reference on
I
that.
love that. I love that you were surrounded by strong, successful women. And
Still to this day, they're strong and
yeah, I
successful. And
mean, that's amazing. But still, nationwide, whether you're in the nonprofit sector or the business sector, men are making more dollar for dollar, penny for penny than women are in the same
mm.
jobs. Professional, whatever level, men make more money than women do.
See, and I don't like to hear anything like that. It doesn't matter. See, to me, it's not like even a man, woman, black, white issue. It's just that, and not that. I guess we can't have everything be completely even, but that almost sounds like opportunity, right? Like they got to have the opportunity to make as much money.
Absolutely. And things change over time, but that's what the sector is all about. The nonprofit sector is all about. It's about providing people with the opportunity to achieve their goals, to live in supportive, thriving communities, to be able to enjoy recreational opportunities. I mean, there are people that are working two, three jobs who receive nonprofit services, who receive government assistance. They want to do better. They want to have the next generation do better. And that's what we're about. It's about opportunity and supporting people to achieve their dreams.
Do you have like a favorite story that when you look back and you're like, wow, that person, because you just mentioned dreams, like, are there really good stories? Cause you may not even know them, right? Because you're not really, you don't
I've,
know the personal story. You hear about them, right? But you may know something.
I mean, I hear so many amazing stories every day. I go to events. There's the young woman who was treated by one of our mental health organizations. She couldn't leave her room through crippling anxiety, and
Wow.
she received special treatment, and she ended up dancing in her school play. There's the woman who was a victim, survivor of domestic violence, and became an attorney and is now working as an attorney for a domestic violence services
I
organization.
already love these stories.
There are stories every day. There's the story of the formerly incarcerated person who came out and, spent time with homeless people, supporting them to get showers, to get food, to, just do better. There are just every day there's a new story about somebody who benefited from the services of the nonprofit sector. And, again, these services are across socioeconomic boundaries. The survivor of domestic violence, the person with anxiety. But yet we know.
God, domestic violence. I'd almost think you, in a way, it's like, I know it goes across. I'd almost be more worried about the person who's doing well because that person can hide it easier, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, and they're manipulated
Yeah.
financially and in other ways. There's no qualifying or ranking whose situation is worse.
Right. Oh, true.
But we do know as a society that there are certain situations you're born into that make your life more at risk for certain social ills than others. Um, if you're black and get arrested, the chance that you're going to end up in the criminal justice system you know, for a longer period of time than if you're white, that's just true. It
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things that make certain situations more difficult than others, and we have to recognize that as a society and work to change that. But there's no, oppression Olympics here. We don't want to do that. We just want to, as you said before, so correctly, provide opportunity and advance change.
This is purposeful for you, right? Meaningful. Like
Yeah.
this stuff is good. Is this your purpose? Do you feel like you can take this and do something else, or when you're done with this, are you done? Like, you know,
I don't think I'll ever be done with this, but this is my purpose. Yeah. In some way, shape, or form. It's from the time I graduated college till now, this is what I do.
And that's what I always hope for everybody. That's why I asked you that, because
Yeah.
I'm watching young kids, and I think, we're talking about all these nonprofits. I'm like, is there nonprofits that are really helping young kids out, maybe with phone addiction, whatever it is,
Yeah.
but finding purpose? I mean, I know everybody has to do that on their own, but I feel like once somebody finds out their calling, like whatever makes them feel alive, a lot of other things fall into place.
I agree. I agree with that. And I think what I've heard from people who have ended up incarcerated or, have been in really bad situations that have gotten them to that point, a lot of times it's because they felt they didn't have an identity. They were in situations where they didn't really know who they were. And without knowing who you are, um,
And meaning, like, where do I fit in this world? Like, what does that
not,
mean when you say I don't know who I am? I don't have an identity.
it means that their lives were so desperate that they were deprived of, just the most basic things, food, clothing, shelter. So life was about survival as
Right. They didn't have
opposed
the
to,
leisure time to find out
right.
what was fun.
So exactly, exactly. And their definition of fun can take a lot of different paths. So I think, to be able to raise children with strong identities, but as a society to show those kids that they matter. How do so many kids fall through the cracks, end up on the streets hungry and homeless? We can do better. We have to pay attention to those kids because when they get older, too many of us say, those are the dregs of society. They've been called super predators. They've been called all sorts of things. But they're our children and they're born into situations that we have to care about. How does, a child end up dropping out of school in third grade? Why? We need to do better. We need to protect everyone's children, whether they're ours or someone else's, so that they don't end up in a system that is oppressive as well. So there's a lot of room for improvement.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
even I mean, really, kind of, we started out talking about not started, but one of the first things you said was about the suicide rate in
Yeah.
younger people. And if you had purpose, you wouldn't
Yeah.
want to, because you would have
Right.
hope. You would look forward to the next
Right.
day. I just sit on that because, that's just happening. To me, it's almost like there's a sickness in society because I hear about the epidemic of loneliness now,
Yeah.
right? That's like a new thing. Suicide in young people, suicide in veterans, people with PTSD. I mean, just hearing this sort of, and again, there's my heat kicking on again. That old boiler system never fails. Um, I am so grateful that, and that's one of the things that I try to pass on is when I was in high school, Jan, I did not know what I was doing. Like I was the bad kid. Um, People don't realize that about me. I could probably tell you stuff off the record, but it started when I was 11 and 12 years old, just doing bad stuff to get attention, to try to fit in a different way. And it wasn't until 19 when I found out what I was really skillful at.
Interesting.
And then at 20, I found out how that would fit into a profession. And then my life completely changed after that. And I went from like a zero point 0.6 GPA student to a 3.9 GPA student. So it wasn't about the intellect or the ability. It
Right.
was about, and that's what I worry about for kids so much now because, man, I just taught a film class with NECS, and there was one kid in there, and we were paying them to learn. It was a great opportunity, right? Minimum wage, 20 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
for a 16-year-old over the summer. Like, my kid would have loved that. They weren't
Right.
able, right? And the first paycheck, the kid went and bought like some Labubus, I think they're called. Have you heard of this? There's like this new toy that you attach to your backpack. It looks like a little alien creature. I think they're called
No.
Labubus. They go for like $800, $400. And that's what he wanted. That's what he went to for, I think, like satisfaction and joy, and that was, and I don't know why I'm saying all this. I
He wanted something that everyone else had. just to,
And that too,
that's,
and for
yeah,
myself, and to feel like I did it. And I think there was some dignity in it in doing
sure.
that. But I'm always looking to coach, if they're willing, and advise the youth on, like, where are you getting not happiness from, but where are you getting joy from and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to do. Like, if there's a mission for me, so this like storytelling stuff I do for nonprofits, I love it because I get to work with that nonprofit for a period of time and see behind that veil. Like, I really love going from place to place and seeing, like, okay,
And storytelling is being recognized as really such an important part of nonprofits' ability to communicate their importance, to communicate their mission, to raise funds, to develop resources, telling the stories that are true and are authentic is really important. And I think it's a shift in some ways. As nonprofits, we've always been about honoring very wealthy people that support our work or really focusing on the donor. There's a shift from donor centric fundraising slash resource development to community centric and person centric. And why aren't we talking about and telling the stories about these incredible people that have overcome so much adversity?
hmm,
Why, as a sector, aren't we focusing more on those people as our heroes? Now, certainly, philanthropy is a beautiful thing. To be able to give money, to be able to offer support, to want to do that is amazing. In Judaism, the highest way of giving is to do it
in secret. Yeah.
anonymously, right? And so we
That's why I
don't,
used to get mad at Oprah. Every
yeah.
time she went to Africa, she had a whole film crew with her. But
So,
no, but you're right.
right,
Yeah. There's
if we're
something
going to
to say.
do it, anonymity is a beautiful thing, just to do it because, and that's a little naive and unrealistic. There are reasons why you can set an example by giving. We have wonderful philanthropists and organizations here in Westchester.
But you're talking about if you do it for the attention.
Right.
That's
But more importantly, I'm really talking about who we honor as a sector. We should honor the people that have enough grit, enough motivation to walk through our doors with humility and say, I need help. I want to do better. I want to be better. And they do it. It's not easy to do what they do. It's not easy to be loaded with anxiety and to fight to overcome that, to be a victim of domestic violence and to gather the strength to fight your oppressor, and to get away from that. It's really hard to combat poverty. If you're born into poverty, how do you lift yourself and your family up when
right.
you don't have money, when you don't have resources, when you're hungry?
It's not just tough it out.
Right. It's not lift yourself up by your bootstraps if you don't have boots. It's why don't we honor the people more and tell their story? So it goes back to the storytelling,
Yeah.
right? Let's tell the real stories and make the heroes the people that are digging deep to change their lives.
God, they're even a hero when we do those interviews. Like, once that person, so
Yeah.
there was already hard enough for them to live the life, and now they're going to go on camera and tell their story.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of nonprofits are fearful of that because they're like, I can't ask them to do that. But to your point, I think that's exactly the person that needs to share, because, you know, you can quantify what you've done, but there's that saying, and I love this saying because this goes back to kind of what we're talking about too, is nobody cares about what you know until they know how much you care.
Mm.
So when that person tells the story of the impact that nonprofit made, you don't have to quantify, you don't have to say anything else at that point. You change that person's life, and then you just say, and that's what we do.
Right.
And
And
that should be enough,
and give
honestly.
them the credit for changing their lives.
Exactly.
That give them the respect and the credit. And if you are going to ask them to expose themselves and to talk about their story, make sure that they're protected. Make sure that you're not going to re-traumatize them. Know that
That's a huge
them
thing.
telling
Yeah.
their story is going to be a good thing for them and not a bad thing for them.
That's such
Mm,
a great point,
yeah.
honestly. Um, what do people need to know, Jan? What would you, if they only knew one thing from NPW this year? Oh, actually, let me not even ask you that way. You said something because you're talking about it. There may be a shift in cuts. People are going to have to adapt on how, people meaning nonprofits, maybe adapt on where or how. Um, can they make up any cuts in funders? Is it going to take more? What, any advice for, should they just come to you and
I
work with your
think
team? Like
I,
what happens?
I think that we need advocacy. We need people. The cuts are going to be so deep, I think, from the federal government that to ask local government, the state or the county to make up for all that, to ask funders, corporations, individuals, yes, they can make a difference, but it's really an unfair ask. What we need is for people to demand more of their elected officials, to stand up and say, be our voice. In New York, we're lucky to the most extent, or here in Westchester, to the most extent, we're lucky.
Meaning
But,
because you have the ears of legislators.
right.
Yeah.
But in other, we have to demand more. People have to sort of break out of their shell a little and say, I have a voice, I have a vote. I can call the White House, I can call my elected officials, I can call the state and say, I want a higher increase for nonprofit workers. We're fighting for a cost of living increase that is so small, and yet, we saw the governor's budget and we didn't get what we asked for. We got a percentage lower. There's something that every community can do. People can use their voices. I think advocacy, and this is my personal opinion, advocacy is more important than fundraising because advocacy really advances change systemically through legislation, through taxpayer funding. We need to advocate. We need, because that's what's going to make systems change and make lives better for people.
Making me think. So maybe I should be telling somebody to make a video to send up to Albany. Like not to play at a gala, but maybe we should use storytelling to get these legislators to see it.
Ooh, let's talk.
That might be it. Because I agree with you. I mean, really, once it's there and you see it, and it's not just, it's not a theory. It's not like make it real to somebody and show them. Um, one thing I did, Jen, years ago, because I had a fundraising experience before all this stuff happened. Like before I even had a company, and I was in the Dominican Republic, and with a mission group, and I had taken a photo just on my cell phone of this girl standing in a home, which was not any bigger than probably this, not this studio. It was not bigger than the studio. Maybe it's only half, like 600 square feet maybe. And there was a family of 6 living in there.
Mm.
And, metal ceilings, like holes in the walls. You could see the sun peeking through. No doors. Rooms were divided by like a cloth hanging over. And at the end of the night, when we went back to like our talk, and we had 100 people in the room, all I did was just show that picture. And I said, that girl needs. I talked to the dad. If he had $6,000, he could build a brand new house for them.
Yeah.
I raised $14,000. We built 2 houses. And it's so sometimes it's as simple as that. And that's what I mean by like, just show them, just put them in it and say, like, put a little girl who's like, and you can't do this to like, there's a commercial out there. I won't even say the thing, but it's on there. And there's this poor little kid and he keeps saying, and they use him and he's really cute and he asks for money and they're clearly using him. I'll tell you after, cause I don't want to point it out, but they're using it. It's exploitative to me to do that. But if it's real and it's going to be a direct effect, then it's okay. But that was all you needed to do.
Yeah.
So maybe that's all we need to do.
Tell the truth.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think we can end on that. Right? Anything else?
great.
No,
No, I
no.
could go on for hours, but we do have to stop at some point.
Well, we've actually been talking for an hour. Well, I hope it
Okay.
hasn't felt that way.
No.
But anyway, that's another good story with Jan Fisher. Really, really good story, Jan. Thanks for being on. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Good job.